My name is Rosalva Resendiz. I'm an associate professor at the Department of Criminal Justice, University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley.
I'm Joe Mounce, and I'm retired professor of political science, also at UTRGV at the Edinburgh campus. And I would like to begin this interview with you. First of all, the basics. How did this start? I know you're one of the main, or the main organizer. And how did the idea percolate up, and how did you begin?
Well,
Because it's fantastic.
oh, thank you so much. Well, actually, it started off being a social justice activist. I've always been involved in, of course, in indigeneity and anything moving forward with human rights issues. But most recently, we heard some actually people in the Latin community speaking ill of people that are African American and speaking ill of Oaxaqueños or indigenous people. So that sparked another idea that we have problems within our own community. We can't always be blaming people outside the community. We can't say it's the white people here, the white people there, when we ourselves also reproducing those issues. So I wanted to bring this conference to academia, where we can talk about the issues within the Latinx, Chicanx community, that we ourselves are reproducing racism, colorism, classism, sexism. So instead of just looking out and say, well, this is all being done to us, instead looking in, within, so we ourselves can confront those same issues, the systemic stuff that is in the system within ourselves.
So this was a theme repeated that you, among your academic colleagues here and elsewhere in the U.S., had been hearing this concern?
No, not really. Most academics, most of the time, we don't really look within. There is a new movement. There is a decolonization movement in academia. So we have a lot of people talking about decolonizing, and some of that involves, of course, looking within ourselves. We do have some theories that we follow, like Gloria Anzaldúa, talks about mestiza consciousness, or we have even W.B. Du Bois, who talked about double consciousness. And in speaking about those things, it means that we recognize the systemic issues, we accept them, and we have to maneuver ourselves depends on who we are or where we're at, right? So some of us take it too much to heart to the point that we are discriminatory to our own people. In this particular case, in the Latinx community, as the speakers today have spoken, it's colorism. So we can all be Latinx, but at the same time, though, there is a hierarchy within because of the caste system. The caste system has been around for a long time, and even though it's not, it's no longer like politically, accepted or used, we're still using the same.
It's in our minds or in our
it's a cultural
fabric.
hegemony. Cultural hegemony. It's an ideological hegemony. We keep it and we keep reproducing it over and over again. So that's why the conference came about, because we need to confront the enemy within.
Then this organization, the National
Association for
Chicana and Chicano Studies,
yes.
has been around, though, for a long time,
Yes, they
dealing
have
with
been.
other issues.
Yes, they have been around. Since the 70s, and of course, it developed, of course, from the Chicano movement, and academics were also involved, so they developed this, and we've been fighting for a while, though, of course.
Is this the first time it has appeared here in the Valley at UTRG, Pan American before, or UTRGV now?
The first time was at UT Pan American. Yes, and that was a decade ago. And this year, we agreed to do this, so we said UTRGV. So it's the first time at UTRGV. So it's gone great.
That's great. So in a way, I see it as a major coup for you and for the Valley and for the university.
Yeah.
The eyes of the U.S., maybe not the world yet, but are on us. And what do you hope to achieve from this particular conference?
One of the big themes that I'm trying to push, and of course I'm trying to help people embrace, is the fact that we're indigenous. We're indigenous to this continent. And instead of looking at us as immigrants, as we're always considered immigrants, and there's, we have a lot of immigrant rights groups, they would look beyond that to accept the fact that we're indigenous. We're not even immigrants. This is our land. And it's when we start changing that narrative, people can understand that, we've always been here. It's not something that we're just invading the U.S. We're not just barely arriving.
Another follow-up question to that. How, from this academic setting, this beautiful campus, with its Spanish, Latin, indigenous, valley, environmental architecture, how can those who participate then take these messages that they hear today and tomorrow and spread the word? That is, how does that get out?
Well, one of the things that we're trying to push forth is the fact that they need to start working internally. Once you start working internally and recognize the fact...
Do you mean within the family or?
Within yourself, individually. Internally working, doing the work internally. That way, once you accept your indigeneity, once you accept your roots, you're no longer trying to fight against it or trying to erase who you really are. Because once you try to erase who you are, you continue to reproduce hierarchies. So that's the point. So you start internally. So it doesn't even matter if they don't spread it out, as long as they start reflecting themselves.
Have you gotten pushback on this from either students or faculty or community?
Some faculty didn't really appreciate the topic, but I think it was really important to address it, especially when it's already joined the political conversation. It was the LA councilwoman, Nuri, that said, was caught on tape saying some horrible things about the Oaxaqueños, indigenous people, about an African American child. So this was already in the news. Because of the political, coverage, I felt this is time to start talking about that. It's our own community that reproduces these types of issues.
So the conference and the topic, various topics, or the broader topic, are very timely and very connected with current political reality.
Yeah, and that's the beauty about doing this is the Tejas Foco, conference. So it's it's just an aspect of the National Association for Chicano Studies. They have their national conference. This is a small one that Tejas. So it gives us an opportunity to do things quickly and really be responsive to the political narratives or any kind of news. So it kind of helped me get this going. Yeah, and nationally it takes a while because it's done a whole year ahead. So it's a very different topics. It's much more broad.
Well, I was impressed with the panel today and the fine Mexican food. And
in Latin America, you have some quinoa too.
Of course. And I would just like to let you add anything else you think that we've missed, or you think that people should know about this conference and this and your association.
Well, not so much the association, but more than anything, the fact that we have people from Poder Prieto, Mexico, and that's a national movement that they started. It's a young movement.
What is it? Can you say that again?
Poder Prieto, Mexico.
Bueno.
Yeah, and those are two of the speakers that we had here, and they're actors and actresses and artists.
And author, I just met one of the authors that spoke today too.
Oh, okay, yeah. There's a couple of authors here too as well. Yeah, but Poder Prieto is a movement, and to get people involved in that movement is also to spread the word. They already have their website, they have their Instagram, they're on YouTube. So getting that message out would be really important. Poder
Prieto, translated Black Power, or not? No.
Prieto, like dark skin, brown skin.
Ah, okay.
It's brown. It's basically about being brown and black.
And then this is something very new because I don't think most people have heard of it.
No, it's new, and it's been developing very much in a national consciousness, in the sense that because they are in the media, they are spreading this to certain levels, but people still are learning about it. So that's why we want to get that out there, so people can start looking and say, you know what, being brown is not a bad thing. It's okay to be indigenous. That's important, to love ourselves.
Great. Thank you very, very much.
Gary, I have one extra.
I don't remember the exact. 10 years ago, we had the conference at UTPA in Edinburgh, and I was not involved, only as a moderator, as a chair. I was a participant. Nevertheless, it has changed over the 10 years because of the political turmoil that we've had since Donald Trump. That actually, it could be seen negative, but in a positive way, what we've seen is that it uncovered so much of the racism that we have in this country that instead of being a negative, we can see that it's shown us who are allies and what we need to fight or discuss or bring to light. I think 10 years ago, we might have been more comfortable thinking that we have been progressing really well, and that we were really going well with, our rights and, human rights, immigrant rights, indigenous rights, environmental rights. We felt we were moving forward, even though there's problems politically always.
We were self-satisfied, you're saying, in a sense?
We were probably making more strides. And we were getting in, we were creating mass programs, there was diversity, equity, and inclusion. At this point, our own governments are fighting against us. You know, they're dismantling the university systems as well. In Florida, we've seen that, and here we don't know what's going to happen or not. As it is right now, we're not. We're no longer supposed to use diversity, equity, and inclusion for hiring practices. So that is a big thing. So from 10 years to now
the elimination of CRT in Florida, that kind of thing.
Yes. I mean, I've been teaching critical race feminism and critical race theory for 20 years, but now I think you still have to be careful because, you know, people get upset. So it's a very different type of climate. So when we also have to stand up, though, and that's the thing, though, we can't be scared to stand up. So that's why this conference.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it so much.